for being here again. And I do want to introduce our speaker, Bob Goldin. Bob is industry veteran. He's the Executive Vice President of Technomic and Director of the firm's research and consulting arm. Bob's been in the industry for 35 years. I've known Bob in my days at Hillshire / Bakery for Sara Lee. And he probably been, what, 10 plus years at least we've known each other. So anyway, it's an honor to have Bob here. He's leading research as well as various initiatives in terms of the firm's the operations the firm has. And so today we're going to hear about the latest trends, industry happenings, and Bob's going to share with us how that impacts our lives, and particularly with the technology space. So Bob,
Great.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for showing up. I'll preface my remarks by saying I am not, even though our firm is Technomic, we've been around 50 years, we are not a technology consulting firm. We do research, distribution, business planning, but we do work for manufacturers, operators, distributors, trade associations, and retailers. So it's a very good, and we do consumer work and B2B research. So we have a very good, broad perspective on what's going on in the industry and try to draw some inferences relative to technology. I've been very active in the category management space. I'll talk to you later about how that's impacting a lot of where we see the future directions. I started our category management institute and actually was kind of active in it first life it had about 10 years ago. But let's just kind of set the stage just very briefly about where we are as an industry. We're talking here food service. And in a word, it's good news. It's almost all good news. And I can remember in 2009 speaking in front of this group, and basically my first remark was the economy has fallen off a cliff, and I was quoting Warren Buffett, and I said almost all sectors are suffering and consumers have no confidence and aren't willing to spend. So things have changed in the last 5 years. That's very positive. We have definite economic tailwinds. Employment continues to gain. The stock market is at a near record high, plus or minus 50, 100 points. Interest rates are low. Housing is recovered. DPI is growing, and that's very significant because in food service, it's a discretionary business. When we have money in our pocket, we tend to spend a certain portion of it in food service. We have low inflation. So lots of good news. Consumer confidence, and it's probably something you see these things reported monthly, and it's over 100. That's really significant. The base year is 1985 was 100. It hasn't been this high since 2007. Low gas prices are certainly helping boost consumer mood. And why is this important? Because when consumers feel good about things, about the economy and about their prospects, they're more willing to spend, and food service will get its share of spending. What's happening here, and the other thing, we track on a monthly basis distributor sentiment and food service operator sentiment, and they're both very positive. So the mood is really good in the industry. The industry is growing. It's growing solidly. When the recession hit, retail gained share, food services grew faster. People were economizing and scaling back and saving money. It's back to historical patterns over the last 30, 40 years where food service is growing faster. So we are doing better. We actually have new segments. Now, 5 years ago, we wouldn't have been talking about fast casual or the incredible growth that supermarket food service is experiencing in grocery stores. Near double-digit growth, over double-digit growth for certain players. We'd also clearly have been talking about, and we would also have been saying how lodging was really suffering. Well, lodging business is booming again. They're building, convention business is back. The other thing, the most significant change, I think, in the business is, for as long as I can remember, and any of us can remember, and I've probably been in the industry the longest, what's driven the growth of food service? Quiz. Easy. Chains. Since 1970s, and McDonald's, et cetera, came on the scene, and Subways, and every year in, year out, chains Guess what? It's flipped. Independents are back. And for those of us who live in major metros, and even not major metros, you see what's going on. The fact that independent, the creativity, the use of social media to really kind of capture consumer attention and loyalty. And we all sell the chains, but most of us like to eat independent. So that's new. And we think that's going to continue. And by and large, we really see that food service, barring any kind of really collapse in the economy, and I think our economy arguably is getting stronger as the rest of the world seems to be really challenged in the strength of the dollar is indicative of the confidence in the U.S. economy. So food service is good. So it should favor investment. It is a pro-investment for the first time in 7-8 years. Business is better. Companies realize they have to invest to grow. And I think we can continue to see at least not a sentiment against investing. However, there are some things that you're all experiencing. And first and foremost is margin pressures for everyone in the channel. So you sit there and you say, yeah, you're telling me the economy's good, consumers are back spending, the industry's growing, independents are doing well, what's the problem? Well, one of the major fundamental problems, and there's many issues related to this, is that food costs have been on a dramatic spike, especially in categories like beef, dairy. I think we all heard the news about the chicken business. We're going to have a big run-up in chicken prices because there's some disease there. So food prices, and the importance of that, these are high-dollar items. This is a big portion of what the operator spends money on, center-of-the-plate type items. Prices have gone up, and everyone is scared to take price increase because of consumer pushback. And you can see every time one of the chains tries to scale back on their discounting, Subway tried to move from $5 footlong, you saw what happened. Bottom fell out. So now, so what do they do now? There's $3. Pizza Hut, you know, they tried to make it the $10 pizza, I think it's to $11. So we have a lot of pressures on that. Margins are continual pressure for everyone in the channel. We're seeing some very, and I'm going to kind of talk further about leverage shifts and what that means. Does everyone know what a GPO is? If you don't, please raise your hand. Okay, you do. I use a lot of acronyms. I live them and breathe them. Food service management firms, emerging chains, a tremendous amount of resources are being devoted to them because they're such powerful players. We are seeing consolidation, most notably recently at the broker level, where years ago it was basically a few regional, kind of quasi-regional mold and market brokers, but regional. Now we have 3 big nationals. A major consolidation there. We have a $64,000 question relative to you know who and you know what. Sysco US. As of right now, I have no news to report other than the courts are going to make the ultimate decision. But this is a very, very significant. I think for everyone in the room, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Life goes on. There's nothing any of us can do about it. So deal with it, as I think. And I'm not trying to be snide, but it is potentially a very significant market shaping event. And it's very significant if it doesn't happen. Because you start playing out all the what-if scenarios, and then what happens to U.S. Foods, Sysco's management takeover, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot going on. And I think the thing that we all really have to get our hands around, and this isn't a seminar about marketing, but it is ultimately consumer drives our business. And how the consumer is changing. And I'll give you some things, and you can, these have gone beyond fads. I think they're gone beyond even trend into new realities that we're facing. Things, and I think part of it's the Chipotle effect. Things like local, fresh, sustainable, clean label, humanely raised, community involvement, fair trade. These are really drivers of the industry. It's come on much faster than I've expected and many other observers. And I'll give you kind of a couple, about within the last couple of weeks, the world's largest retailer, you all know who they are, of course, Walmart. What did they announce? They're giving a wage, they're giving everybody a raise. 500,000 of their workers are going to get an increase. World's largest food company, Nestle, about a week or two ago, almost the same, it was almost simultaneous with the Walmart announcement, said we're taking out all artificial everything out of our candy line, and they'll take it out of other lines too. So this is very indicative of the food companies are getting on board. We really do have some changing consumer sentiments that are going to have a lot of impact on a lot of aspects of our business. So, a lot going on there. This is my who would have guessed slide. And I will confess I'm involved in several of these initiatives, so, well, I'm sorry. What are we seeing between trading partners? And I really mean it. Who would have thought it? Data sharing. Manufacturers, distributors, even some of the GPOs actually sharing data. We'll talk about some of the issues related to it. It was so hard to fathom the negative sentiment around this historically, because it was being done in other businesses to everybody's mutual benefit, and somehow there was this paranoia around data sharing, confidentiality. It's happening. It's not widespread, but it is happening. We are actually seeing collaboration between trading partners. Is it universal? No. Category management, I'm going to put that in broad quotes, has been a change. It's a catalyst for a lot of this. We are seeing alignment of resources, dedicated resources to certain customers, aligning insights teams, aligning sales execution resources. I don't want to oversell it, but the fact that we're seeing it, there's real life examples, most notably with Sysco, but the fact that we're seeing it is extremely encouraging. Better targeting. I mean, there's Operator Day CHD and Firefly and NPD, and the fact that there are now industry databases, there are profiling accounts, and some data void opportunity, void matrix, opportunity gap tools and protocols being used, aligned for better. And then again, we have a long, long way to go. Major challenges. The other gentleman talked about ROI. I'm going to talk about ROI. But there is somewhat better execution because there's somewhat more alignment. So I think this is something, again, if you had said 2-3 years ago, Bob Goldin's going to go out and tell everybody about collaboration and data sharing, he's the last guy in the world who would have done it. I'm too skeptical of all this, but it's happening. And it's good news. Long way to go, but the train has left the station. And I think category management, as I said, and I want to put that, the other gentleman talked about, there's no real great definition of mobile digital, but category management still sort of means different things to different people, but I think, a couple of years ago, if you have 10 people, you get 10 definitions. Now you have 10 people, I think you really they may say it differently, but it's using data and collaboration and joint business planning to make better business decisions and grow businesses for the two collaborators. Cisco is the pace setter. They have a 6-step process. They have they've assigned category captains and category advisors. I'll talk about that in a moment. There are formal processes. We have a 12-step process. IFMA has a 8-step process. Cisco has a 6-step. It's all pretty much the same. Developing category strategies, plans, et cetera, and measuring. Talked about dedicated resources being devoted either to individual companies or to category management. A lot of my clients on the manufacturer side now have hired people where they can find them, not easy, oftentimes from IRI or Nielsen, to help in category management work. There are new business disciplines. You know, insights is where it's at in food service. We used to have market research departments who went out and did surveys of operators. I think that's what, Chris, you and I got to get to know each other through the research project. Now it's, companies are beginning to say, we don't need to just do general survey. We need to be very focused on gaining not data, but insights that will help us and our trading partners grow our business. I know it sounds all very airy-fairy, but it is happening. There are actually some successes out there. Sysco talks publicly about some of the successes they've had with some of their captains in some of their categories. Underscore some. But it's very early. Retail's been at it over 20 years, so it didn't happen overnight there either. I think the big issue here, and we'll talk about that, is scorecarding is not even embryonic. It's back to the ROI question, or discussion that the gentleman from Goldin talked about. We still are very, people are doing it because their customers want them to. It's a buzzword, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, who's going to argue with fact-based decision making? But end of the day, not a lot of effort has been put on developing scorecards to measure what's getting done relative to all the resources being committed. And there are a lot of resources being devoted to category management by trading partners. A lot. Soft and hard costs. And it doesn't have traction. One of my clients kind of helped articulate this. It basically talks about what the real goals when you're engaging in it. It's about penetrating customers, the right customers. It's about having the right assortment, the right distribution points. And here's obviously where AFS, this whole area of pricing it right, promoting it right, trade management, and I think we can look to step this up in a very significant way I'll talk about further. And then clearly this is where the sales teams have to get aligned is you can have all the great plans in the world, you can have all the great insight, come up with beautiful strategies, but if you can't execute at the field, it all falls apart. But the idea here is that data sharing and joint business planning is what's made this all happen. This is what all this is about. Data share, customer data, customer purchase history. Our industry is the repository. We think of this massive amount of data, the transaction data supermarkets have. Think about the amount of data that we have, distributors have relative to their customers, when they order, what they order, who they order from. We have no shortage of information, transactional information that you can mine, or very friends of my organization, data fracking, really deriving value. We're not short of it. So category management, again, using that, I don't know whether I think it has some key elements. They all kind of make intuitive sense to all of us. And there's a major role that technology is playing and will continue to play in a much more significant way going forward. So let me just kind of give you, for those who aren't familiar, Sysco has formal, and then we kind of, this one, they don't use that word, but basically what they call their category captain is for a category. How the definition of categories, everybody's sorted, every distributor's, we don't have quite the hierarchy and agreed upon category hierarchy and nomenclature they do in retail, but we're slowly but surely moving in that direction. But about relative category management, defined categories that make sense to both trading partners. So Sysco has category captains, and they are leading the joint business plan. They have on-site personnel. The captain has very deep and broad access to transactional data, including individual customer data. So you are really sitting in the catbird seat when you're the category captain. You've got the keys to the magic kingdom. And you have access to the opcos and you have access to customers, direct access, especially for new product introductions. The people, the dedicated people would be in Houston and they would be doing analysis and insight work, they're tracking and reporting, providing insights and supporting activation. All sounds great, some problems I'll talk about relative to that. The category advisor is more of a supporting role. They support the journey. They will provide, they're kind of an advisor, consultant. They'll have some access to data and some business development opportunities. Core suppliers are part of, your basic part of your core assortment. You gotta carry them. We realize they're important. Sysco may make some level of volume commitment on core assortment. For example, Chris and I met Sara Lee. Every distributor has to carry Sara Lee cheesecake. You just had to do it. They may not be a captain, they may not be an advisor, but it might be considered a core assortment item as customers demand it, brand heritage, and so on and so forth. Transactional supplier, now you're getting into the realm of no real commitment on each part. There's no access to data. These suppliers are limited by no access. And these can be some very big, significant suppliers. They're just not aligned. So they won't get access to data. Then these kind of invisible suppliers, the relationship in that particular case is pretty hostile. Again, these could be big companies. They get close-coded. No access to any data. And what Sysco in this case will do, they target these kind of companies for conversions with one of their. So that's kind of the hierarchy. And most distributors who are we've had preferred vendors for a long, long time. Preferred vendors used to be driven by what? Money. You write a big check, you're a preferred vendor. This is not about who writes the biggest check. This is a real fundamental difference in how business is conducted. Suppliers have kind of moved, many of the more suppliers have kind of moved to, and again, most companies sort of have this intuitively, but they're doing it more now formally. They're doing how they segment their distributor and operator customer base, strategic, high engagement, tactical, or transactional. Very, very similar. The strategic accounts, they would be the lead developer of the category plan and the category strategy and the plan. The strategy and the plans are different. Strategy is more of a long-term, plan is more of an annual. High engagement would be more of an influencer of strategy and plans, and tactical is really fundamentally, I'm just going to do what I'm told and be opportunistic. So, we talked about this and how this is really a fundamental new way of doing business. What are the problems? Well, data, and a lot, again, is predicated on data. It's the underpinning for collaboration, intelligent business decision. Lots of data. And I think distributors have learned that sharing data isn't really that scary, that companies are honorable, they're not going to go out, they're going to abide by confidentiality agreements and business relationships. And the other thing that distributors are learning is that sharing data for insights, giving data, and putting the burden on the supplier community to provide insights to help grow is a good trade. It's a good trade-off, especially when most of the work is being done by the supplier. So nonetheless, there are some very significant challenges, most of which I think technology is going to ultimately need to provide solutions. For one thing, data quality is still a big issue. Anybody getting any distributor data and any suppliers here? Well-intentioned. A lot of work. So, you get the data and then all of a sudden, oh God, I want to get to work on it, but it's not attributed right, it's not clean, there's misclass, there's old items, and et cetera, et cetera. So data quality is a real challenge in classifications. Organizing the data in terms of subcategories by attribute, a challenge. Making all that data useful. So the one hand, you're making a data request for 6 months, 9 months, 18 months, transactional data by opco or by division, by category, where you can by competitor, leaving aside any just plain old how many cases moved to what price. What do I do with it? It's overwhelming amounts of data. We have been, as an industry, we run an ongoing share group of manufacturers, what we call category management share group. We just had a meeting last week. From everything I can tell, all the data analysis is still being done on Excel spreadsheets. And our clients are telling us it's blowing them up. It just can't handle the amount of data, pivot tables. You can only go so far. Leave aside the fact there aren't a lot of people, most clients don't even know how to manage that stuff. Just mechanically work. It's just the amount of data and the complexity and the need to mine it overwhelms standard desktop tools, which leads to the dire need that the industry has. I mean, this is something that we're calling out for increased investment. You're gonna have to invest to win. Especially advanced analytics, both tools, we need automation, we need turnkey solutions. And we're very, very short of people talent in this industry to manage these very, very sophisticated tasks. So we're going from dark to bright pretty quickly. And the expectations are pretty high that when the data is being shared, I want to get something out of it, I'm waiting, show me the way, give me a path forward. So high expectations when we've gotten over the hump of willingness. Now it's show it to me, get it to me. I'll give you. I expect a lot, and we don't have the analytical horsepower to date. And this is not a criticism of any company, and it's just we've just been handicapped. There's been a tide of activity. Companies are monitoring their investment very, very carefully because it's resource. Senior management said, okay, I get it, it's all about data sharing and new ways of doing business. Well, my head proof command growing my business. And that's still a problem. So the burden of proof is going to be on practitioners for this. So again, major challenges. I keep pushing on that. There I come. Which leads us to where I think there's Goldin and our hills, and that's this whole world of big data. And I don't even know if embryonic is the right word to use. It's pre-embryonic. Sysco has used a price optimization tool. US Foods, I think, has tested some big data promotional tools, price optimization, market promotion tools. Goldin has, but it's very, very embryonic. I don't think the industry understands the power of letting a server do the thinking for it. As I've said earlier, we have so much data to mine, to use. I mean, the number of customers and the segmentation of customers and regions and prices and different label types and customer classifications. So it's not as if we're short of areas to let those algorithms go to work and come up with the magic. And again, I think it's quite frankly, how do we use it and having the ability, the power to do it, but all the uses that big data would have in our business, which is the B2B setting, not just the B2C, but how it's used in consumer settings, predictive analytics. So again, one of the flaws or challenges of category management is what are we looking at? Historical data. What are we looking at? Traditional customer segmentation. Fast food Mexican, sit down Italian, nursing home. Big data allows us to develop segmentation based on customer, how they buy, when they buy, So, a fast food Mexican restaurant who buys branded salad dressing, maybe on a monthly basis, could be classified similar to a college, so you start segmenting customers on their pricing sensitivity and ordering pattern, lots and lots of stuff. It's way, way, way beyond my 1 or 2 economic classes I have. Personalized offers. Price optimization clearly is an area. One thing that we've made this business massively complicated is what? Pretty much every customer pays a different price for the same item. So there's 3 of you here, and I'm selling you this water, and you're right next door to each other, and I'm the same distributor, you're all gonna pay a different price. And you know it, it's crazy. But that's our business. So there's gotta be a better way to manage price. Insight, mining for insights, and targeting. So think about the one, our friends here, dunnhumby, which I think many regard it's Kroger's real secret weapon. I think you're all pretty familiar with dunnhumby, and I think you're familiar with Kroger's business results. I mean, it's really, with all due respect to Kroger, I shop, we have in my neighborhood, we have a Mariano's, we have Whole Foods, we have Trader Joe's. They're all cool and great to shop at. Kroger's kind of a plain vanilla grocery store for the most part, but they had 48 or 49 straight quarters of same-store sales increases. Their stock's been great. They're winning. And they attribute a lot of that to dunnhumby, and dunnhumby works with Macy's and Dick's Sporting Goods and Sonic and lots and lots. And it's all about, personalization, data plus science, they call it customer. That's kind of a neat little phraseology. We're a customer science company. This whole idea of customer DNA. I was just reading, they send out, so they have this notion, Kroger sends out about 10 million direct mail offers a month, I'm sorry. And they have 70% redemption. Direct mail order redemption is 1%, 2% normally. They get 70. And they're not about conversions. So they're not saying if you're buying Coke, the traditional way to do it, you're buying Coke and cash register and give you a coupon from Pepsi. They're saying if you buy Coke, you should also buy, Clorox bleach because you're the kind of customer that values. I mean, it is science, but it works. So I think these are big opportunities in this business, and I think we're going to see some real interesting moves. And people who invest in it, I think, are going to be in a big position to win. 3 years out, 5 years out. But again, when these things hit, they're going to hit big, and we're going to have some proven results on this. The big data portion is really exciting. This whole business of taking data to the next level, other than, again, the fact that we're getting it, using it, but beyond the way we're looking at it right now. What we talked about here in 2009 is how manufacturers are very concerned about the trade spend, and we talked about the level and high concern about effectiveness. And there's limited use of CRM systems and advanced analytics, and then there's the need for change is a growing imperative. Well, we have seen some pretty subtle and I think pretty significant shifts in manufacturer view and manufacturer practices. View is one thing. I mean, trade spend has always been a headache for manufacturers. As long as I've been in the business, it's always been some first thing you do is how much money I'm paying them and how little I'm getting. That's always it. But now what we're seeing in reality is less spending on marketing programs like lump sum or trip contests or sales access fees. I don't know if anybody's doing calls on hold anymore, but there was a couple of years ago. We're seeing more strict adherence or more strictness about exclusions. We are seeing better enforcement, better tracking, fewer guarantees, and fewer blanket programs. Isn't to say they're not out there, but the trend on all that's down. We are definitely seeing a shift. Manufacturer spending, trade spend has been very heavily distributor directed. There's at least 2/3 going to distributors, heavy portion on guaranteed programs. So we're moving more money over to those GPOs. We're moving towards more performance-based programs. We are definitely, in many of the GPOs, I think, again, our change agents are required, as Cisco was demanding that pricing in a lot of their awards. So we're looking at more transparency. We're seeing that across industries, and that's going to be a big driving factor. And what we're seeing here is, yeah, business is better, but it's been pretty rough for the last couple of years. Food service stopped growing, so, you know, for CPG companies with the retail division, the food service division, food service was always looked at as a way to get a little extra growth. Retail is a little more profitable. Well, food service started growing. So senior management has gotten much more demanding of the food service division about leaky buckets, about the ever-increasing trade burden. So what they're saying is, we'll spend, but we want more. We want to spend more prudently. This is no longer a divisional issue. You got to prove that there's an ROI. You've got to tighten up all those, and the fact that they're great TPM tools has allowed them, at least, again, most companies now have using some sort of, at least they know where the money's going and what buckets it's going in, thanks to tracking systems like AFS has. But it doesn't mean, just knowing it doesn't mean you do anything about it. You gotta have some guts. And I think what we're seeing is a lot of manufacturers saying, yeah, we don't have choice anymore. You know, customers are gonna hold a gun to our head. The bucket is dry. There's nothing left. So we're tightening it. When we spend, we'll be glad to spend if you can show that it gives us better mix, higher growth, access to our strategic accounts, all the things that are desirable. And we'll pay, you know, all this data, not everybody's giving it away for free. There's fees associated with it. And I want, you know, the one door, you know, you pay one check, and we know all about it. That's fine, but use it. I'll pay for it in retail. I want to make sure that I'm getting ROI and I'm using it to develop insights. So it's not as if the data is just going across somebody's hard drive, sitting there and waiting to be mined. So it's pretty subtle, it's pretty important. I think it's encouraging. So where do we see things going in terms of technology? Well, again, I think a lot of it relates very much to our definitely mobile. You know, DSRs are still out there, running around, calling on customers, spending a lot of time in their cars. Brokers are still playing a very vital role. So the iPad or the iPhone or whatever the mobile device is, what used to be, you know, I guess, can anybody remember what used to happen when we download, and then you have to go to a telephone and transmit your orders? I don't know, the modem. Does anyone remember modem? I mean, that was kind of hot technology. So now it's mobile, real time. I don't want to know what happened 90 days ago. That doesn't matter. There's too much stuff going on in this market, especially with all these trends that I'm relating to relative to things like local and fresh and all these new competitive forces on the market. So real time. Absolutely greater ease of use. This stuff is still way too complicated for the average user. We are not, again, not a criticism, it's an observation. In fact, the user sophistication in food service, not the IT people, but the rank and file, the field, the marketing management, the sales, the insights team, they're not trained like they are in retail, which has been doing it for 20 years, has armies of people and resources and tremendous vendor support by companies like IRI and Nielsen and ComScore and all those others. So we need to make these things really much greater, customizable for the user, for the category. I think BI has to go beyond static. So we need real time, we have to build in there advanced analytics. That's where the industry's trending, and companies are gonna, again, I don't think a lot of companies, your customers are gonna say, do predictive analytics for me, but when you do it, and you can show results, they don't care how you got there. It's going to be a winning, defendable strategy leads to real advantage. And then we do need ultimately, this is all fine and dandy, we're on a little bit of a roll, these are all great words and lots of stuff going on, a flurry of good activity, positive activity, needed activity. But end of day, so that this isn't just one of these, this too shall pass, we need to have tools that measure the impact, ROI measurement tools. So these are things that you need to work with your suppliers in helping you reach these goals relative to technology. And with that, we'll turn it over. I'm going to try not to blow this up by going page down, which is my name. And feel free to contact me directly, but have a few minutes for questions.
One or two?
One or two questions? Yeah. No, that was just the time up. Okay. Questions, challenges, disagreements? Yes, sir.
I just want to make a quick observation, if I may, one of your comments around, the data sharing. I'm not sure if other folks felt the same way, but I've been a little bit actually surprised in a bit of a negative way. And when you think of a Sysco or UIS, sometimes it feels as though, despite what you would think of all the data they should have in the business they're in, they still feel sometimes like they're, in the Stone Age relative to their ability to provide data, share data. They often, it feels like they're asking us for analytics that you feel like they should be doing. I just don't know if that comment resonates or.
I think it's not inconsistent with, do you mind asking what company you're from?
Yeah, I was going to say I work for the Danny Company. So
well,
it's funny. I mean, in food service, we sort of refer to ourselves as emergers, or sort of figuring out what we're going to be when we grow up. So, compared to a General Mills or a Procter & Gamble or a Unilever, we're relatively smaller players, but we see tremendous growth opportunities.
Yeah, I don't think what you're, did everyone hear his comment, what the gentleman's comment? I don't think it's inconsistent with what I'm saying. The willingness, speed at which data is shared varies a little bit by company, who you are. But I think your point about stuff, yeah, they're saying, you're already, they don't want to do it, they don't know how to do it, they don't have the people, the talent. They are relying on the manufacturers to do it. And at the same point, manufacturers are saying, well, yeah, we love to do this, what we do day in, day out in retail. We don't have horsepower ourselves. I suspect you don't have any data analysts. So even if your company said, go out and hire one, and you go, well, where do I go? And then at the end of the day, I got this investment, and my boss says, well, how do we do, you have a 6-figure investment, P&E and all that. What did you get for it? I don't know. So that's where we are. I think we're saying the same thing. So I don't disagree with that. I think it's a good observation. It's an opportunity, I think.
Yeah, just get surprised given their size and
No, they've been pieced together. I mean, it's a company that's been pieced together through acquisition. It's a company that's still challenged by, kind of halfway through an ERP thing that they never developed. U.S. Foods is built that way, so it's the way they built. I do know that in certain situations, when it's mission critical, they can turn it on a dime and do it. Any other questions, comments? That's great.
Question.
Yeah.
Really just about, what do you think about the future of GPOs? Because everything was spot on and how they've grown or whatever. I just think they're a tremendous cost and built quite a palace of people, and how does that all?
They are tremendous. Well, they have a path that they are delivering. I think a couple of things. It's a good question. Probably needs a lot more. I think GPOs have probably reached saturation or near saturation level in the business, lodging, and healthcare. They're heavily penetrated. So I think their growth is going to be heavily dependent on new segments, new services beyond strictly food procurement. So could a GPO get into outsourced analytics, become more? I think they're the really good ones are really good, and I think they're delivering a lot of value to their members. So at the end of the day, yeah, they have a lot of people, but I believe that it's for their customers to determine their value, and I think customers do believe they deliver a lot of value. So I think they're gonna keep growing. I just think it'll just be a diversification of services and customers. But yes, they are very formal. I mean, we deal with food buy a lot, and they are a best-in-class company when it comes to analytics, data, business plan. I mean, they are really good. They're not the only ones. They've got a lot of capability. I think it's just gonna have to be diversified. There's no more B&I or healthcare establishments. Yeah.
Bob, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.